one question that I found to be interesting and I wanted to ask you about was that the Torah stresses the relationship and obligation between man and God as Brit, covenant. What's the difference between the covenant and religion as understood in the more conventional sense?
Well, I guess we're going to try to understand semantics here. A covenant is basically an agreement. A Berit is an agreement. And in any agreement, you have two sides. There's not only one side, there's two sides. And that, I don't know if you're a lawyer or anybody who's a lawyer, they know that when there is an agreement, a contract, there are two sides, and they both are obligated in whatever that agreement and contract says, and they both signed onto it. Now, if one side violates that, right, I think common law says then the other side can violate the agreement. If one side violates, of course, the other side can say, hey, 1 second, you violated it, you have to pay whatever the damages, indemnification, and some of those contracts have certain, if you violate this, then you have to do X, Y, Z, either pay a fine or the entire, some contracts tells you if one side violates the contract, then the contract is no longer valid. And so it depends on what those contracts say. That's the obligation of both sides. The Berit between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Am Yisrael is likewise, is a Berit that has obligations and responsibilities from both sides. Of course, for Am Yisrael, but also HaKadosh Baruch Hu has certain obligations and responsibilities. And we also have privileges for both sides, right? And so the only difference is that the Berit that we have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it can never be abrogated. It can never be abrogated, right? And so, yes, there are penalties. There are penalties for violating that Berit. Whatever they are, the Torah itself mentions, and whatever we don't know, but that Berit will never be abrogated. You know, there is a famous joke that the Jewish community after pogroms and attacks and this, they told HaKadosh Baruch Hu, okay, God, we want to return the Berit back to you. We were the chosen people. We thought we would be chosen for glory and winning and so, beautiful things, but we have been chosen to be attacked, inquisitions, Holocaust, pogroms. We don't want to be chosen for that. So we want to return that contract and say no longer. So Hashem says, okay, give me back what I gave you. So, okay, the next day, trucks, those 18-wheeler trucks, a line of over hundreds of them, if not more, came to Hashem to deliver back the covenant. So Hashem said, what are all these things? He said, what do you mean? This is your covenant. They said, no, I only gave you 2 tablets. I only gave you 2 tablets. Give me back the 2 tablets. What are you giving me back? Yeah. What do you mean? Giving you back the Tanakh, the Talmud, the Mefarshim, the Sifrei Halacha, Sifrei Musar. So I only gave you 2 tablets. That's all what I gave you. So Milta de bdehuta as a joke. But of course, that's a covenant. A covenant is a commitment from both sides. And that covenant from Hashem to us, of course, the Jewish people have gone through difficult times over centuries and millennia. But Hashem's Berit with us has not been abrogated. Look at all the nations of the world. All the most powerful empires have come and gone. And all of them wanted to destroy Am Yisrael. They didn't succeed. Every single major empire, nation, kingdom disappeared, and we are still alive and well. And we went back to our land, and we have established a beautiful country as powerful as the most powerful countries in the world. That shows that the Berit with HaKadosh Baruch Hu has not been abrogated. He's keeping his word, and we ought to keep our word. Now, what's this between the term of Berit and religion? It's the same thing. Every single Jew is bound by that Berit, is bound. And a person cannot say, well, I was not the one who said in Har Sinai Na'aseh v'nishma. I didn't say that, so therefore I'm free. Well, if I could bid you a parallel or an example, not every single American said yay to the Constitution that was enacted in 1776, right? Not that yet. Are we obligated? If we live in this country, we are obligated by it. We cannot say, I did not agree with the Constitution. Well, but that's, so what the previous generation accepts, we have to accept. Whatever we could change, we change. Whatever we cannot change, we cannot change. And so, but the Torah itself tells us what we could change, what we cannot change. Not from the Torah, but from Pesach Halacha and so on and so forth. That's what Kechol Asher Yorucha, every Hacham of every generation has the ability to adapt the Torah and Divrei Hachamim to the generation that they live, so we could all live as Jews with Yirat Shamayim and Shorei Torah Umistot. So the Berit is a fancy term, is maybe a legalistic term, but the religion, that's what it is. You know, Judaism is not just a religion. It's not just a body of laws. It's a way of life. It's not an ethnicity, it's not a race, it's a way of life. And that way of life is based on Chokhmat HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he gave even to Adam HaRishon from the beginning, and then to Noah, then to Abraham, and he was later on promulgated as the Torah.